How's it everyone, this is Lolcohol, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing a whole lot of tips and tricks and secret quality of life features that you can find in Path of Exile 2. A lot of these are just completely not told to you by the game. Some of them are, but they're very easy to miss. So let's start out with one of the most useful ones, and that is that you can click on vendors. Instead of clicking, let's say Alva, and then clicking buy or sell items, I can control click her to open up the currency exchange. That's a control click. I can alt click to open up her gambling window. For Doriani and the hooded one in the campaign, I can control click him to identify all items in my inventory. So I don't need to click identify, I just go control click, and then you get this pop-up, 3 items identified. I can also alt click him to open his buy or sell window. I can control alt click him to open up my refund window for my Atlas passive tree. So whenever you find a vendor in town, start seeing if you can open up the window you want more easily. For example, I can control click to open the disenchant window, alt click to open up this window. Let's move on to the currency exchange. There's some cool things you can do here. So for example, I can, instead of going I have and then going here and trying to search for the thing I want, if I already have it, which I will because I have a divine orb, I can just click this and then click it here, and that will set it to divine orb. You're supposed to be able to control click it, but it doesn't seem to be working yet. You can also do that on the other side. So if I say I have divine orb, I want more exalted orbs, I can just click it like that. And then I can click here, and that'll set the baseline for it. What you can also do is you can control click either of these and it'll swap it around so you can compare the ratios. And then what I can do is I can place an order, and then instead of clicking all of these one by one, what I can do is press control right click, and that'll send them all into my inventory. You can also control click things into your stash like this. In Path of Exile 1, you can control, I think it's control shift click to put all types of that one currency into your stash. It does not seem to be working in Path of Exile 2 yet. Hopefully it will be added, but when it is, control shift click and it all goes into your stash. And then let's talk about stash affinities. So if you have premium tabs, I think this even works on normal tabs. You can right click the tab and then you have affinities over here. And then you can set that tab to a specific affinity. If it's a special tab, like a currency tab, you can only set it to currency, but you can set normal tabs. Like let's just get a normal premium tab here. I can even set this to my currency tab, delirium, or whatever you want it to be. But what if I want to have a separate tab where I'm keeping track of separate currency for some reason? Well, in this case, you can control shift click to ignore the affinity. So instead of going like this, you can just control shift click it and it'll go into this tab. You can also pick up a stack and then hold down the shift key, and then you can separate into individual stacks like that. While we're in the stash, let's talk about Regex and the highlight items section. So if you press Control F, it'll instantly jump you down here to highlight items. So if I want to search for an item with lightning resistance, I just type it in here, and then all of these items will have either the word lightning or resistance in them somewhere. So over here we have lightning resistance. Here we do not have lightning resistance. What we have over here is an item with the word lightning, increased lightning damage, and then chaos resistance and elemental resistances. So this is being highlighted for that. If I want to be more specific and have it as lightning resistance as just one word, I can add inverted commas or quotation marks, and then it'll only search for exactly this wording, lightning resistance. So these now all have lightning resistance. You don't have to be as specific as this. You can even just type in different parts of lightning resistance. So I could do something like Ning Resi, and that should also highlight lightning resistance like that. If I want to add in additional things to search for, I can push shift backslash, that's just next to your enter key, and then I can type in something else. So let's say maximum life. So I can go maximum life like that. So these will have either lightning resistance or maximum life. So we can see over here, this is lightning resistance, this is maximum life, and you can use that to highlight. You can also do specific searches by saying, I wanted to have lightning resistance and maximum life, and you could even do something like that, where you have inverted commas between these two things like that. So this will have max life and lightning resistance, You can also exclude modifiers. So let's say I want something with lightning res, so ning resi like that, but I don't want to see any that have evasion rating. So in that case, I can do exclamation mark and type in evasion, and then that's going to exclude anything that has this modifier in it. The good news is this also works with vendors. So if I'm looking for a very specific modifier, I can type it in here. Or what you can do is have a pre-prepared regex string to highlight various item modifiers that you are looking for, or even specific items. So I have this one over here. This was for my monk speed leveling, and this was highlighting speed, movement speed, boots, and then strength, and then also quarterstaffs, damage to attacks, maximum life, spirit, all these different things. So you can see these aren't even full words, and you can even type in things like quality to see anything that has quality, or even sockets to see items with sockets. This is limited to 50 characters, which is why people tend to shorten different phrases, but you can create really, really useful strings like that to highlight different things with vendors or in your stash to just see what you need. You can even do it over here, press Ctrl F, and you can search like energy shield like that. You can also get more information about your items by pressing Alt, and then over here, you'll see implicit, and then prefix, suffix, and then the modifier tier. So tier 1, tier 2, tier 2, tier 2. Then, anytime you see a word like this with dotted lines underneath it, you can hover over it to get more information about it. If you now want to go from physical and then read more about bleeding and you try and hover over it, it doesn't work. But what you can do is just click that, and then it will pin it like this. And now we have this thing that we can move around. You can then just do the same and keep pinning different things like this, and then you can read various parts of whatever. You can just go chain these together. And then when you want to close all of these, what you can do is just press Alt, and they will all close. This is also very useful for comparing items. So if I push Alt on this, at the top right corner, there's this little pin, and I can put that over here, and I can do the same thing over here. And then you can actually compare multiple items to one another and see, okay, which one is better. You can compare all these items, or maybe you just want to show off all your gear that you have. So don't forget that little pin, it's really useful. Another place that the pin is extremely useful is on your passive skill tree. So if you hover over any node on the tree, if you press Shift, you'll get more information about how that node affects one of your main skills. But what you can do to compare more easily is press Shift and then press Alt, and then you got this little pin thing over here, and then I have it pinned. So I can put it over here, and then I can look at this one and press Shift, press Alt, pin it, and then I can see, oh, okay, which one of these is better. And you can do this for as many as you need to. And then once you're done, you can just press Alt and they will all close. Let's move on to some more general tips. So one that is very useful if you want to repeatedly farm the same area over and over, you can, instead of just clicking the nameplate of a transition, you can control click it, and then it brings up this window, which is your instance manager. So I can click new, and then it'll open a new instance of that area. You can even do it over here with your waypoint, and you can say control click Mausoleum of the Praetor and go new. You can also respawn a checkpoint to refresh some monsters, but this is also useful for if you're trying to farm the same boss over and over and over. A good example of that is Beira in Act 1. You can farm her repeatedly in Clearfell. So from Grelwood, you control click the Clearfell instance, and then it'll reset and you'll have a fresh Beira in there for you to farm. Another useful one is that you can make your map bigger and smaller by using the numpad plus and minus keys like this. And then you can also move it around with the cursor keys. So if you want to just see better where you're going, you can do like that and then zoom it out. You can also change the transparency of your map by going into options and then into interface, and you can change the landscape transparency, map zoom, and map transparency. So a lot of players will play like this, where there's not the landscape transparency, because it tends to just get a lot in the way. So normally just turn it off, crank that up. If you want to make your map even brighter, what you can do is you can change your scene brightness. So you can slide this up or down, and then you can also use UI brightness to make it a little bit brighter. So play with this. Maybe you want it a little bit more like that so you can see the map better, or maybe you want the game just a little bit brighter so you can see a little bit better. If you want to make sure that you have done all of your permanent buffs, which is really important to do during the campaign, if you see these little skull icons with a plus next to it, this means that it is a permanent buff. So this one is Bera, which gives us plus 10 to cold resistance. If you see one just like this is just an optional side boss that you can slay for some kind of guaranteed drop, maybe a gem or something like that. But over here you can see killing Crowbell grants us 2 weapon set skill points. So by the end of the campaign, you should have 24 additional skill points. And if you've missed any, just click through here and see if you've missed it and do that quest to collect that permanent buff. Another thing you can do is if you want to instantly assign a passive without having to click this confirmation box, then you just need to control click it and it'll instantly be applied. Let's go over some useful options that I recommend that you use. So if you press escape, go options and then up to interface, you can add certain useful things. So you can remove quest tracking, you can even show a clock so you can keep track of the time. Probably the more useful ones are down here. So always show sockets, show full descriptions, and then show life and mana levels. This one is really, really good. So I can save. Without that, I have to hover over my life to see exactly the amount I have. So definitely turn that on. And then also you can have show flask buffs, aura icons. I believe these are automatically on. If they're not, do turn them on. Show mini life bar above you. This one's also good for keeping track of your life without having to constantly look down. And you can do the same thing for enemies. So having the mini life bars above enemies to keep track of their life. You can also change the size of your cursor and make it even brighter and bigger so that I could have like a bright green cursor so I don't lose it. Another thing you can do is you can press F1. That'll bring up this graph at the top. You can keep track of your FPS and you can also push it again and that'll show you your latency, or you can see all of that information just underneath here. So use your F1, especially if you worry that you're running into like bottlenecking or network issues. F1 is your friend. There's also some useful things that you can do with the chat box. So you can actually set your status in a way. So if I press enter and then /DND, it's going to set me to do not disturb. So anyone who messages me will have this display as D&D mode enabled, so I won't receive any messages. You can also do AFK like that. Display as AFK to let people know you're not there. You can also do stuff like auto reply, and then you can type a message afterwards like in a map there in a sec, and then anyone who messages you will get that as an automatic reply. You can also set automatic replies for D&D and AFK, so you can say like D&D recording a video now, and then anyone who messages will get that message. Same with AFK, you can say like back in 5 minutes and they'll get that message. Enter /hideout will take me to my hideout. You can even set that to a macro on your mouse or keyboard so that you can just push a button and you go straight to your hideout. You can't do it from combat areas, but it is useful for if you want to go from town to hideout or from someone else's hideout to your hideout. You can also change the global or trade channel that you're in by typing in, let's say, /global1. And this is probably going to be absolute mayhem. Now, if I want to message someone, I can right click on their name, whisper, add as friend, ignore, report, invite to guild, invite to party. But I can message this guy. And then if I want to show him my divine orbs, I can control alt and click it. And that'll link the item in chat. Or I can even link an item to him like this. And then he will hopefully, wow, these messages are very, very global one. But if you want to share things with your friends, control alt click to do it. Now, if I don't want to see global, I can press enter and just click this up here and close it. And then if I've been messaging a whole lot of different people, what I can do is control enter, and that will allow me to reply to the previous person who messaged me. /CLS, that clears your chat. You can also type /clear to do the same thing. There's a couple of cool other things you can do in your hideout. So if I click this little drop down, I can click that and then hit edit, and I can move all these things around. Sometimes it can be hard to click things, especially if you've downloaded a hideout where there's just a lot of different objects, but you can actually click it, and then instead of clicking and dragging, you can just move it with your cursor keys like that. You can even rotate it with the R button or the control R button to go the other way, or to go by 90 degrees, or shift R to go the other way. So you can get things just in the perfect place that you want them to be without having to click this annoying little spinny wheel at the bottom. With a lot of things in Path of Exile, there is a search window, so you can type in like, I want Alva, and she's over here, and I'm gonna click her and put her over here now like that. You can also prevent people from entering your portals and various other hideout options by clicking this over here. And you can say, allow friends to visit your hideout. Yes. Guild members can visit my hideout. Party members, yes. And then portal access. So if you don't want someone annoying just jumping into your portal when you're doing a trade, you can click this and say something like only friends and guildmates, or only you. So only friends is probably a good one. That way people can't grief you when they're coming into your portal to do some trading. I guess there's another useful little tip while the well is in the game, but you can put your well and your map device on the same thing. So as you come out of maps, you can just click the well to refresh. Something else that is very helpful when you're doing juiced mapping is rearranging your loot. So if you press Z, it'll hide loot. So you can hide your loot while you're doing, let's say, a breach. And then after the breach, you can see the items that you have found. And then you can click all of these like that. And then sometimes you'll find that if there's a lot of items on the ground, there'll be things just in weird places. Like there'll be, let's say, a divine orb. It's showing that the icon is over here, but the divine orb is actually there just because of the amount of loot. So if you want to reorganize the little tags on screen, you can press Z and then press Z again, and it'll shuffle them so that they are all a little bit closer together. So I can do like that and that, and you can see it moves them. And I guess one other nice little thing you can do in maps is, let's see if we can get affected by a debuff quickly. There we go. So if I want to read this, sometimes the game is moving a little bit too quickly for you to stop and read, but you can actually press escape and then you can hover over any debuff you see. So you can see I'm poisoned. I can read what it does. I can't really push Alt to get more information, but at least I can stop and say, what is that icon? What does that do? And get more information that way. And then if you are exploring the atlas and trying to find the next place to go, but then you lose your place, there's actually these little icons over here. So there's this one with the little person in it. You can click that. That'll jump you straight back to your character. There's also one over here that will jump you straight back to the Arbiter of Ash. And there's also one where you can go back to the home starting section, but it seems, there it is. So if you want to go back to this over here, Ziggurat Refuge, you can click that icon. Most useful one though is going to be this, so you can get back to where you were. That is going to be it for this video. I'm sure there are plenty of things that I missed, so if you want, let me know in the comments about something cool that you know about, and if there's enough good ideas, maybe I'll do a second part to this. If you learned something and enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. Also follow me on Twitch. I will be live the moment that Dawn of the Hunt drops, and I'm going to be streaming a ton. So give me a follow. I'll be live, and yeah, have a wonderful day, everyone. Stay safe. Catch you in the next video, and bye-bye.